Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of WooPod. My name is Susie.
My name's Rick.
And today we're diving into how we have fun in the UK. So that's leisure activities, hobbies, sports, anything that we do outside of working.
Yeah, we thought this one would be interesting because people's activities and fun stuff has changed a lot in the UK over the past 5 years. So we thought it would be quite interesting to dive into it and show you guys what people are doing for fun in the UK today.
So what do you do for fun, Rick?
What do I do for fun? Well, as we mentioned at the very beginning of the series, I don't really do a lot with my free time. I tend to like doing very little, to be honest.
You're quite social, aren't you? You're always going to your pub quizzes and stuff like that.
That's true. Yeah, I do like socializing. I wouldn't really call that it doesn't feel like an activity though, does it? Just meeting up with your friends and
I think that counts. That
nonsense.
Definitely counts. Quite traditional.
Okay, yeah, socializing. Yeah, pub quizzes, cooking, going for walks, going to the gym. I still play some sports, sort of golf, tennis, that type of thing. That's pretty much it, really. Yeah, I don't do much else. Oh, like occasionally an art gallery, a museum, that type of thing. Or maybe I'll go see some comedy. I used to love going to see comedy, so I do that a bit. That's kind of it, really. Pretty low key. I think you're more active than I am.
Do you think?
You do.
No.
Well, at least you used to be. You used to do all sorts of crazy stuff.
You used to be fun. Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like you're more social and active than I am. I'm actually quite a homebody.
Oh, wow. Okay. I never thought I'd see the day where that happened. That's quite interesting. But you used to do triathlons and all kinds.
Yeah, I think I go through phases where I'm like, I need to do more with my life. And then I just cram everything in and then get tired. I'm like, okay, I give up on that. I'm just going to stay at home again.
No, it's a good way of doing it, I think. Bursts of activity and then just nothing, I think I like that.
Yeah, recently I got involved with so there's a co-working space that I like to go to and they put on loads of cool activities and it's quite a good way to meet people. So they have a few interesting ones that they put on, like, my favorite was wildlife drawing. So instead of life drawing, where you're drawing a naked person, you're drawing the animals that they bring in. And it would be like rescue reptiles or like little pigs or something.
Oh, wow.
That was really cool.
That does actually sound quite fun, to be fair. I've never done a drawing class before, but that does sound pretty cool. I think the naked person is like, why are we still doing that, to be honest? It just feels weird to me.
So you haven't done life drawing before?
I've never been to one.
It's actually such a weird experience.
For a life drawing. Yeah, I bet it is. It sounds... should we explain to people? Because maybe they don't
quite a weird
have
thing
this
to do,
in other
isn't it?
countries.
Yeah, so basically life drawing is you have a naked model, like a human, who takes off their clothes and stands there in different poses, and you need to sketch them. So, it's kind of... It should be quite a serious, more posh type activity. But it's always a bit awkward when the model looks you in the eye. And one time, I don't know if this is appropriate for this podcast, but one time at uni we went to a class and the guy lay down on his side on the table and his ball was stuck between his legs. So we were looking from the back and we could see his balls poking through and we're like, that can't be comfortable, right? But I think once he'd lay down, he couldn't change position because you're supposed to be still. Right. And I just got a laughing fit and I had to really suppress it. But yeah, we'll probably have to cut that out. But anyway.
It's okay. But it's a pretty weird activity. But as we're going to find out, these more traditional activities have now been mixed with other activities in strange ways.
Yeah.
So an example would be sip and paint, where instead of just getting together and painting something nice together in like a little art class, now you get drunk while you're doing it or something. Is that the idea?
I guess the term sip suggests like one glass of Prosecco, maybe. Something like that. Not quite getting mortal.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm just assuming that it involves getting absolutely
I guess it could do, if you
drunk.
wanted.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
I haven't been to one of those. I do see it advertised a lot, though. It's a bit like one of those woo girl things, though, isn't it? Woo girl meaning a girl that likes to go and have gin and tonic at the weekends, get the nails done and go, woo, and take pictures.
It's quite unfortunate that that's also your name, but never mind. Okay, so people have been into yoga for a while now, but then all of a sudden in the past few years, you'd see adverts for things like dog yoga, where you bring your dog, or they have a load of puppies that they just let you play with while you do yoga. It's just trying to like make it more fun, but it's not working for me. I don't know.
No.
I really don't like that
have a dog,
kind of thing.
So that's probably why.
No, but I love dogs. Like, it's just
I know what you mean. Though. It's a bit
really...
like a marketing gimmick, isn't it? Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Do you know Goodwood, the car show?
No. What's that?
So it's a very traditional sort of posh car show. It's really expensive to go to. I think celebrities go to it. It's in a big manor house.
Right.
Anyway, they've used the same venue, and now they've got an event called Goodwoof, and it's activities for your dog. It's quite surreal. I went and I don't have a dog, and it was just hundreds and hundreds of dogs there, sort of hanging out. They'd have little races. I don't know, things for them to. Oh, they had like dog meditation or something. Oh, they had dog sound healing and crystal healing.
Oh my God. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, just activities that don't belong together, and a perfect example of that would be dog meditation.
Yeah, we walked past.
It just sounds like
the crystal healing tent was hilarious because we walked past and you could sort of peek in through the door, and there was this dog lying on the floor, like kind of passed out, and someone doing Reiki or something, like touching this dog. I mean, it was quite funny.
It's just why do we need to do this? But so it's like this new stage of activity, where just anything can be combined with anything, and it really upsets me for some reason. I don't like it. I wish they'd all just stay as they were. But that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. These like new blended or fusion activities, and it's just like, what is going on?
So what kind of activities can you get on board with?
There's also a lot of different new sports that people are into now. Mm-hmm. And some of them I do like, and some of them I like less. But I think we can run through a few of them, because it is really strange, actually. Like, again, in the past, I would say no more than 5 years, I would say, a lot of these new sports and activities have become really, really big. And I don't know where they come from. It just suddenly becomes a thing. A good example is paddle, which is sort of like a smaller version of tennis that you can play if you're not as physically fit as you used to be.
Yeah.
And you play it in a court, in a sort of big square cube, instead of playing on a normal tennis court.
Have you tried it?
I've never played it. No, I've never tried it.
I have to say, I don't really get it. Is it basically easier than tennis? Is that the selling point?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not quite sure. I think it's still decent fitness. I don't think you run around as much as you do when you play tennis. So I think it generally is for people who maybe can't play tennis that much anymore. But it is still really popular with young people, not just older people.
Because I guess with tennis, you actually need quite a lot of lessons. You need to practice a lot to get any good. To even hit it over the net takes a while. So maybe
that's true.
Solutionizing that.
A little bit, true, a bit easier. And the fact that it's in a cage or like a little cube, there's just less running around, and it's easier just to keep the game going. But paddle's become massive. When I lived over in Dubai, like everybody was playing paddle.
Oh, really?
There's all these paddle courts. Yeah,
everybody
was playing it.
Where does it come from? I don't know how they... It must be like some company, they've done some good marketing or something.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's still a proper sport in my eyes. So yeah, fair enough. Play some paddle. Another one is people doing park runs. I think this is a little bit older. I want to say 10 years-ish, maybe. But it's such a simple concept. Basically, you all just meet up in a big park. It has to be quite a big park. And you all just go for a run for like half an hour or something. It's usually like 5K, I think.
5K, yeah. Started in 2004 in Bushy Park, London.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
But I started to hear about loads of people doing it. My brother got into it. My friends are into it. Like, everyone's doing park runs on... They're always on Saturdays.
Yeah. Have you done it?
Everybody's doing that now. No, I don't actually go jogging anymore because I have too many injuries now. So I do low-impact things. I do walking and cycling because it's low impact.
Fair enough. You've got a bad foot, have you?
I've got 2 bad feet, actually. They're both bad in different ways, so I can't really I can't run
Fair
anymore.
Enough. I think running is quite high impact. Yeah, it's not something to be done if you're a bit rickety.
But park runs became huge, but it's just running, and there's nothing complicated about it. It's just running in a park with a big group of people.
I have to say, I do love parkrun, because what's great about it is it's 9 a.m. on a Saturday. So if you go and do it, you feel really fit. And for the rest of the weekend, you feel like you've achieved something. Like you end on that high, and then you've got that for the rest of your Saturday. And it's only Saturday. It's not even Sunday yet. And there's definitely something about running with people, because there's so many, you get like, 100 people running together. There's that vibe or atmosphere of, we can do this. And you run the fastest you ever run. Maybe it's partly because I'm competitive, but it does make you run faster.
I did that actually, like over 10 years ago. I did a half marathon, and I was my fitness was crap as well. Like I didn't train for it properly, But the fact of being in the marathon just made me try way harder. And then eventually, I had a terrible time, but I still finished it. So I was quite happy with myself.
I have to say, I don't really get all these marathons yet. People are really into like the ultra marathons, the triathlons where you do like Ironman, so back-to-back triathlons.
But you did an Ironman, didn't you?
No, I've only done triathlon.
You did it.
I don't think I really get on board with things where I'm not sure if it's actually good for you. Like if you're actually like draining your system and destroying your body, potentially.
Yeah, I've heard it technically they're not good for you. You push your body too far. But your Ironmans, your triathlons, your people going for swims in like a lake or the sea or something.
Yeah,
like,
ice cold. You get the contrast therapy where you go in the sauna and then go in the ice bucket. Again, it's a bit extreme. It's like, can't we just do things to sort of a moderate level? Why does it have to be so extreme?
Yes, I do think this is the trend. We're trending towards more and more extreme versions of things. Like we're bored with everything else, and now we're just trying to make it crazy. Here's another example. Hyrox has become really big. So basically, it's what you'd call circuit training, I believe. Yep. So you go to like a gym and you have different activities, and you do them all for like 1 minute each. But they're really intense, and I think you're pushing yourself like really, really far. And it's taken over from a thing called CrossFit, which is basically the same thing. But in like when we were at uni and stuff, everybody was into CrossFit.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, CrossFit's died and it's been replaced with Hyrox.
Has it actually died? Well, you mean it doesn't exist anymore, or people just don't like it anymore?
Yeah, it's not the cool circuit training to do anymore. It's all about Hyrox now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's all very clever marketing, really, isn't it? Same with this Reformer Pilates. You know about that?
Yes. Again, that was massive when I was in Dubai. Like everybody, I mean, mostly women, to be fair, less so men, but a lot of the women I knew were all into Reformer Pilates, which is basically you're doing Pilates, but on those big boards that slide around. What's Pilates? Okay. It's like yoga.
Yeah. It's like yoga, but more focused on your core strength, I think.
Rehabilitating your flexibility and stuff. I think it's genuinely designed to like repair your body and stuff. I think the guy who invented it was like trying to recover from injuries and stuff. Medical version of yoga, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's not spiritual, and the poses are less twisty.
Yes,
more
exactly.
More sort of straightforward, but it's still using your own body weight, isn't it? But then with Reformer Pilates, they use this machine which has a very specific style, and there's like a box and then things that you pull, and you're sort of using your own body weight but with a bit extra.
Exactly. You stand on these platforms that slide around, and it's supposed to be really, really tough. Like it's supposed to be.
I have to say, I don't find that, but I don't know. It probably depends how much weight you're putting on or something. Sometimes I just find it really too easy.
You've done Reformer Pilates? Yeah,
I've done it 3 or 4 times. I don't really find it that much of a workout though, but I am used to weightlifting. So maybe it just depends on what you're used to.
Another thing that you've just mentioned, actually, people doing deadlifts and things, that became really big. Everyone doing that for like core fitness and overall strength training. And again, it's more extreme. Reformer Pilates is more extreme than Pilates. All the big deadlifts and crazy stuff is more extreme than just doing the standard gym machines. Like it's all just trending towards extremes. I don't know why.
A really fun one is, do you know about Spartan races?
I know. What's that? I don't know what that is.
So Spartan race is basically an obstacle course. So you do something like 5K, 10K, or even half marathon. But there's things you have to do on the way, like you have to climb over a wall, or you have to, like an obstacle course.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the one I did, there was a cold plunge. That was terrifying. You go down a slide into ice water and then you have to climb out. Oh, that was really scary. Oh, and there was there was a field of dangling wires and you'd get electrocuted.
What?
It was horrible. It was actually really, really hard and I think quite dangerous. I don't know how they can get insured for that.
That sounds absolutely insane. You can get electrocuted on the obstacle course.
Yeah. It was like really hard.
Jesus Christ.
And also I'm a bit claustrophobic, and there were like tunnels where you have to crawl through on your hands and knees. And there's loads of people in front and behind you. It was really scary, but I'd definitely do it again.
Oh, wow. So wait, how long is the course?
I did a 10K one. So it's already tiring. Yeah. Oh, there was there was a river full of thick mud that you have to walk through. So you're in mud up to your neck. It was absolutely mad.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that. That sounds terrifying. I would actually have a panic attack doing that.
Yeah, it was quite scary. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Oh my God, that sounds crazy. So what are these like purpose-built places? They've just done it all out and...
Yeah. Well, it will be in the middle of nowhere, like some massive, it was probably on one of these estates that's got acres and acres of land.
That sounds more interesting. But again, it's just an extreme version of like previous things, which is crazy. I mean, I was interested up until the point you said electrocuting and then mud up to your neck. I think that's...
Yeah, I think the electrocuting was the worst, followed by the cold plunge, actually, because it was the shock of all of a sudden being in this ice bath, and you need to get yourself out quickly. Otherwise, you shouldn't be cold for that long. It's not good for you, is it? Like properly cold, like ice. Oh, horrible.
Another one that became big in the last few years is like a kind of the sort of activity you do either with friends or with like work, like when you finish up work on a Friday and you'll do an activity together, is axe throwing.
Oh, yeah. I haven't really done that. That's more of a male one, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah, I would guess. But that became big, and I don't know where that came from. That just popped up, I would say, last 10 years. Everyone's just like throwing axes now at targets instead of... I think the traditional ones like bowling and table tennis and stuff, it all just became a bit boring, and everyone was sick of it. So we had to do something new, and somebody chose axe throwing.
And it's more dangerous as well. Axe throwing is you're throwing an actual axe. So if someone accidentally walks in front of you, they could die.
Yeah. We
do like the danger, don't we?
I think that's the thing. Yeah, it just has to be like crazy in some way. But yeah, that came out of nowhere, became a really big one. So there's all these like climbing is another big one.
Oh yeah,
that has exploded in the last few years. And it used to be, there were climbing walls all across the UK, and you just go to it's like a big gym basically. It was just a very like niche sport that a lot of people didn't do. But now like so many people I know have got into climbing. It's crazy. I don't know again, where's that come from? I've never done it, but I'm going to go with my friend and try it because I just want to see what all the fuss is about. It's really difficult,
like to just like hold your body weight on the wall. I think it is really good for your whole body because you use all those muscles that you are not used to using. Like for me, it'd be like my back and my traps, so they ache for like days afterwards.
Oh wow! So you've done it a few times?
Yeah, not regularly, but yeah, on and off.
So that's just another one, and you see people doing it out in like the wild now. Like they have, they climb up like big. That's called free climbing, I think.
Oh yeah, that's quite scary. You actually need the technique to sort of put something in the wall and then move it as you go up. That looks really scary.
So you don't die, yeah. Because I definitely wouldn't do that.
And then there's bouldering, where you can actually fall off and hurt yourself. Like climbing's fun because you're in a harness, so you just sort of swing if you fall off the wall. But with bouldering, there's nothing supporting you, so you can just fall to your death if you're in nature, or onto the mat if you're indoors.
I feel like I'm getting left behind because I'm just not extreme enough to do any of these sports, and I'm just still playing tennis and golf and stuff. But it's fine.
I'm seeing a theme here. It is more of the risky side of things that's being included.
There are some other new activities that have again popped up recently. One is escape rooms, which have become really, really big. So this is basically where you go into like this, you go to this place and you get put inside this little room, and there's a puzzle to get out of the room, and you have to figure out what the puzzle is. Then when you solve the puzzle, you go to the next room, figure out the puzzle, and then you maybe do 5 or 6 of these rooms, and you have to see how quickly you can finish the whole course and get like the best time or something. But they're made to be really hard, and you have to like look around the room for clues and do a bit of maths and like think creatively, think laterally, and you've got to like figure out. And some of them are really fun. I've been to some good ones and some not so good ones, but yeah, it is genuinely they're genuinely quite fun.
You're into those. Yeah, for some reason I feel like they're in the same sort of category as pub quizzes. And since you like pub quizzes, I thought you would like escape rooms.
Yeah, I think it would attract a similar kind of crowd.
Yeah.
Because pub quizzes is like answering trivia questions, and escape rooms is solving a puzzle, and they're kind of pretty adjacent.
It's like using your mind. I don't know, they really frustrate me, the escape rooms, because I feel like half the time everyone's just sort of wandering around looking at stuff, opening boxes, and it feels quite aimless, and I find it frustrating because it's like, what are we supposed to be doing? And then people will have ideas like, oh, maybe it's this, and we're like, yeah. And there's no sort of, I think it's like the lack of leadership is frustrating. You want one person to be like, this is what we're doing.
But I think the fun of it is like having those debates and figuring out like what you're actually going to try and do. I think if you had one person who was like too good at puzzles,
they would just solve it. Yeah, and then it's not a group
just
activity.
Solve it and you'd just be following them through the puzzle
It definitely
rooms.
takes a certain kind of mind because some people are really good at them. I think it's like if you're good at like maths or coding, stuff like that, those people tend to be quite good.
Like, I'm not very good at them, but I always enjoy them. Yeah. So one of the last sort of new activities before we go on to some other stuff is one that I've heard about, but I've certainly never been to, and God willing, I never will. Yeah, they're called coffee raves.
I've never heard of this. What is it?
So basically, instead of drinking alcohol and going to a nightclub in the evening, like people have done for decades, they've changed it all up now. So what you do is there's no alcohol or anything like that, no illegal substances allowed. And you go to a big cafe at about 10:30 in the morning and you drink a load of coffee and you just go to have a big party in a disco or a rave, as they call it.
Cool.
Exactly like a night out, but in the morning, and you can only drink coffee.
I love that.
And you've just got...
That's great.
See, this really appeals to you. To me, it just feels like so pointless.
No, it's the perfect combination because you get the dancing without the late night and the alcohol, which makes you feel crap for at least 2 days, right?
It does, but then for me, that's half of the fun.
You like feeling rubbish?
No, not feeling rubbish. The bit before that, when you're like having a drink, having a laugh, having fun.
Is it the alcohol? You prefer alcohol to coffee?
100%. I don't drink coffee at all. I don't like it. So yeah, no.
I don't really like coffee either, but I'd probably just have like a sip and then just dance. Yeah, I think a coffee high is quite different. It's not as social, really, is it? Coffee, it's a bit more sort of intense, whereas alcohol is more funny sometimes.
Yeah, like loosens you up a bit and stuff. I guess the coffee is just for the energy, really, but I just don't know if I'd be in the mood to dance that much in the morning.
Oh, you're not a morning person. See, at 7 a.m, I'm bouncing out of bed. I'm like, I have so much energy. I would need a way to expel it. And then after lunchtime, I'm gone to the world.
Well, maybe we could go to a coffee rave and then report back. Yeah, we should do. Oh my God,
I really want to. Okay, can we actually?
Yeah, could be quite fun, to be fair. Could be really funny. So maybe we should do that, and then we'll get back to you and we'll tell all the listeners about how it went. But that is a very new thing. And yeah, I'm skeptical, but maybe we should try it.
Okay, let's try it. But yeah, if we're talking more sort of traditional things that are not like new as such, but maybe unique to this country, rambling, going for a walk, I think, is something people of all ages enjoy in the UK. And it just means going usually to a green space, preferably the countryside, and then you might have a pub lunch afterwards. But I think in some countries that's not really something you'd do because of things like there's no green spaces, or there's, too many scooters or pollution or traffic. You'd have to travel quite a bit, maybe go to a mountain to do that sort of thing. But in the UK, you can often travel, not long, half an hour, and get to those kind of spaces.
Sometimes even less, to be honest. I think that's one thing the UK is quite good for, is access to green spaces generally. It's a classic thing for people to do, and as you say, like people of all ages as well. Just getting out somewhere. It doesn't have to be like a massive walk. It could be just for an hour or something, and you go round and just enjoy being in nature, and then you come back again. As you say, like go to the pub, have a nice lunch, and then that's it. That's all you have to do. That's a classic activity, I would say. Yeah,
very much not extreme, not life and death type activity.
Which is probably one reason why it's one of my favourite things to do. And since I moved back to the UK, I just can't stop thinking about driving to like one of these nice places and just doing exactly that, having a little walk and everything. I can't wait to do that. So I'm very excited.
Very refreshing, very good for the soul. So going for a walk's very common, as is, I guess, camping. Lots of people like to camp. Do you like camping?
Not really. But no, I like the fancy camping. That's a thing that changed. Glamping. I like glamping. I don't like camping as much. When I was in Dubai, we did camp on the beach, which was really nice.
Ooh.
That was beautiful.
I guess it'd be good weather there. It wouldn't get too cold at night, would it?
Exactly. And when you opened the tent door, it was the sea was just right in front of you. It was amazing.
Yeah,
that was really nice.
Yeah, the only reason I can get behind camping is if it is because you're in the middle of some stunning nature. What I really don't get is going to a campsite somewhere in England that's not even that nice.
Yeah, that's kind of what we used to do when we were kids. But I think that, explain to listeners kind of a typical campsite. What does it look like? What's going on?
you have your pitch. So there's a specific section of a field where you're allowed to put your tent. And then there's some sort of portaloos, or toilets and showers that are usually not very nice. And that's it. So yes, you get access to running water and a sink and a toilet, which is good. But surely the point of camping is so that you can be in the middle of some sort of nature rather than just a random field, in my opinion.
I think it's like a compromise. It's very popular with families because it's not too out there and you're not having to worry about having little kids and looking after them and stuff. It's just enough of the outdoors that it still feels like the outdoors. It's a controlled environment, and they have a little shop where you can buy stuff, and I think it just makes your life easier. It's not kind of proper camping where you should be, as you say, like in the wilderness somewhere. And, people do like to do that. They go right out into the middle of nowhere where nobody can find them, and they like to just camp in weird places, and people really get into that in a big way. It's very popular.
Yeah. Which I think, unfortunately, in the UK, or at least in England, it's illegal to wild camp most places, which is really sad. So you could have your tent removed or fined or something if you camp somewhere that's not a campsite. I just think that's totally immoral.
It is pretty sad, yeah, because you should be allowed to do that, really.
I think in Scotland you might be allowed. Well, I did it anyway in Scotland.
Yeah, no, I thought that was the rule. Like in most places, it was okay, but yeah, that's. I hope that's not true. So yes, camping is big. Now, what about music festivals? Because these are kind of all over the world anyway. Yeah. But I guess they are quite popular in the UK at least. I mean, there's some really big music festivals: Glastonbury, Leeds and Reading. Some of the ones that involve camping, like what's it called? Hidden Forest, I want to say. Yeah, there's these ones that are like out in the middle of nowhere in like sort of the Welsh countryside or like English countryside. Yeah. And it's like super remote. So,
and I guess they usually have a theme, don't they? Either for example, I went to one called Buddhafield, which is all about hippie type activities. So you got your yoga, meditation. It was a sober festival. No, it was really good because it was very child friendly and it was just very relaxed. It was sort of semi-nudist. So you could be nude if you wanted to. Not many people were, but you got quite a few topless people. Yeah, there'd be the sort of children's section and you weren't allowed to be nude in that section.
I should.
There'd be like a troll at the bridge that was like, put your clothes on. But no, that was quite fun actually. I would like to take my children there. It's like the most relaxed place I've been to where there's a bunch of strangers together. Just felt like everyone was hanging out, eating nice food.
Oh, that's quite nice. Yeah, I guess. And if you can take your kids to a festival, that is quite good to be able to share that with them. So,
which ones have you been to?
I've been to, so they're called like day festivals where you just go for one day. A lot of festivals are usually over, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So I've been to a few of the day ones in London. Is great for one day festivals in the big parks in London. They're really good. So I've been to a few of them. And we've been to a 2-day in Manchester called Park Life, which I haven't been to for a long time. That's really good. And then I did go to one in Croatia called Outlook Festival. I'm not even sure if it's still going now, but that was great too, because you're on holiday and you're at a music festival, so it's like double the fun, basically. So that was really cool. So I've been to a few, and always have a good time.
The ones in Croatia are really popular, aren't they? I don't know if it's like especially with Brits, but so many people go to Croatia to go to a music festival.
Like talking about activities that sort of became a thing in the last few years. Yeah, these Croatia festivals seemingly popped up 10, 15 years ago and everyone just started going. I guess because they're probably cheap to set them there. But they got really, really popular and I had such a good time when I went. So that's a very happy memory of that summer in Croatia.
I also went to another one much smaller than Outlook. I think Outlook is more sort of drum and bass type music, isn't it?
It is, and hip hop as well, yes. Which one did you go to?
Oh God, I can't even remember what it was called now. It's like 10 years ago. But no, it was so nice. Yeah, on the beach, like very small scale. Having a festival on an actually sunny beach is quite different than a muddy field in England.
That's the thing, English festivals, I'm always thinking of mud. You have to wear wellies, Wellington boots. I've never camped at an English festival and I really wouldn't want to because it just sounds absolutely horrible.
Oh, the worst experience I had was at the Isle of Wight festival where they had some issue sort of changing the waste in the loos, you know, one of these compostable loos. So the level of the stuff in there was getting higher and higher and higher. So if you went to the toilet, you look into the toilet bowl and it's like rising out of the, it was quite nasty. It's quite unpleasant, to be honest, camping at festivals in general.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. It's just too much stuff going on. So you've been to the Isle of Wight festival. I guess we should say the Isle of Wight is it's just a little island off the south coast of England, and they have a few towns there. But they have that. It's a really famous festival, and they have that festival every year in the summer. So you've been to that one. You've been to the Buddha Festival, a Croatia festival.
Yeah, I went to V Festival a couple of times. So that's more mainstream type pop. That was quite good. And then Reading, which is a whole nother story. My tent got stolen. Yeah, quite a bad experience at Reading, I think. So there's a lot of teenagers there. I think they've improved the safety of it now. But the year that I went, it was like there were teenagers setting fire to things. Yeah, someone stole my tent, but they didn't even steal anything in the tent. They just moved the tent to a different campsite. Somehow I managed to find it. And there was a slash cut down the side of it, but nothing inside was stolen. You know, people just trying to be funny or something. It was quite overwhelming. I think I was only like 17 or something.
I do, Reading and Leeds I do associate with like, you normally like, it's your first festival that you go to when you're a bit younger. And yeah, as you say, there's people just running around like misbehaving and it's just a bit like crazy and it doesn't sound very nice.
Yeah, it's like a place teenagers can just go and supposedly do what they want, which I think is not a very good idea. We shouldn't really allow that.
No, they should be controlled very strictly,
Oh, we had an interesting listener question here. Can I read this one?
Please.
Because this listener question reminded me of like a childhood memory from a long time ago. 英国各地 cosplay 活动，例如正奥斯汀荷布朗特文学粉絲聚會活動。So cosplay activities in the UK. At first I was like, we don't really do that. That's not a thing. And then I remembered, no, I've been to a reenactment of the Battle of Hastings, which was really cool. Yeah, you dress up and then everyone's sort of running onto the pitch. And I can't remember how the actual battle went. Presumably that didn't happen. But I just remember everyone dressing up and it really felt like you were in history.
Well, so you got dressed up as well?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. When did you do this?
It must have been a long time ago. I feel like I must have been 12 or something.
I was going to say, because I could not picture you as an adult going to a historical reenactment.
I don't know. It could be quite fun. I might, look up what it was and go again.
So, yeah, basically, this has been a thing in Britain for like quite a long time now. People dressing up and reenacting famous battles or moments in history. But it's really interesting that you compare it to cosplay because it's the same thing. Of course, it's exactly the same thing. But because cosplay, I usually think of like people dressing up as anime characters or video game characters.
Yeah.
But no, of course, like people in the UK have been cosplaying for decades.
Yeah. But it's usually more historical, isn't it? So the listener's question mentioned Jane Austen and Bronte fan gatherings, which I have not heard of, but I can imagine that is a thing.
Yeah, 100%. People love that stuff, like dressing up like from the olden times. Like, yeah, they would love that. And also, even the modern cosplay with anime and video games, that's becoming more and more popular. Like people going to Comic-Con, people dressing up, like that's become way bigger in the last few years. So people kind of do both, actually, to answer the question. But yeah, Jane Austen and that type of era, that's become really popular with like Bridgerton and all these shows. So
yeah, and also obviously just Japanese culture in general being hugely more popular now. So yeah.
Yes, 100%.
The other listener questions were, 英国有什么英国人放假特別回去的景點嗎? So like what sort of scenic places or attractions do we go to on holiday? So I guess we're talking about like a staycation. Staycation means a holiday at home in your own country. The Lake District is coming to mind.
Yeah,
it's a big
100%.
One. Have you been there?
It's kind of many, many times, yes, because it's very close to Newcastle. Yeah, it's a part of northwest England where there's lots of like nice lakes, basically. So you can go walking, you can do activities, you do water sports, like there's loads of different stuff you can do. It's all like cute little villages and towns. And I don't know if the listeners would know Peter Rabbit, the character. That's where Peter Rabbit comes from.
So.
Yeah, that's where he comes from. Like Lake District. There's also a thing called the Peak District, which is similar, but it's more mountains rather than lakes. People go to Scotland, they go to Wales. They would go to the southwest of England called the West Country, which is very beautiful. So Devon and Cornwall, the beaches and sort of nice pubs and farms and stuff. And then, as we said, like camping, like loads of British families will go just for a weekend or something, go and camp near where they live. I'd say that's still a pretty big thing, even though, you could fly to Spain or Italy, somewhere like that. I still think staycations are pretty popular in England.
The Lake District, it is very beautiful there, isn't it? But it's just so touristy. If you go in the summer, it's actually horrible because there's too many people.
Yeah, it can be tricky sometimes, for sure. Yeah. And it's not always easy to navigate sometimes. It can be quite, like you don't know where you're going half the time. Yeah. But yes, staycations, very popular.
And another place that people might go on the holidays, Brighton, I suppose.
Seaside town trip, yes, that's very popular. You even see that where I come from. So my town is Whitley Bay. It's basically just like a much smaller, less impressive version of Brighton, I would say. That's how I'd describe it. Yeah, people go there all the time, even because it's quite cold where I live. But yeah, even on a hot day, loads of people coming from around the area and just going to the beach or walking around. But Brighton is a classic seaside town weekend thing.
Yep.
So that's a big staycation place. Yeah.
And another one is Blackpool.
Yeah.
Less nice.
Blackpool's, yeah, not as... Have you been to Blackpool?
Ages ago, yeah. I think because I'm from Brighton, so I'm often underwhelmed by these other seaside towns.
Yeah, for sure. I went to Blackpool 7 years ago and I just found it really depressing. I didn't like it.
Yeah, there's something depressing about the seaside. I think it's sort of like happy, like get your ice cream, but the weather is always rubbish. So it just feels a bit sad.
And a lot of these towns aren't as popular anymore, so they're kind of struggling. I think Brighton's always done quite well and it's sort of constantly reinvented itself and it's still a very cool place to go. Whereas, I'm sorry if anyone's listening from Blackpool, but it is not the coolest place in the world. And it's just a bit, I found it quite depressing. I did go in December though, so maybe that was why.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Might be different in the summer. Oh, but another one that is doing better now is, what's it called? Margate in Canterbury.
Yes, Margate. It's a classic town that wasn't doing well, but has now turned itself around and is quite cool now.
I was going to say, what about some more nerdy hobbies? Nerdy hobbies like bird watching, fishing.
Yeah.
Figure painting.
I don't know if...
Model trains.
Do you think is fishing nerdy? I don't think fishing's nerdy.
I guess just because it's on a quiet sport, so you get quiet people doing it who are more likely to be nerdy. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
There might be an overlap. I see it as more of like an older person's pastime, fishing.
Yeah.
But it is extremely popular in the UK. You wouldn't think so, but a lot of people do fishing in the UK. But yeah, the nerdy ones, painting models. I don't like little plastic figurines. I don't know if the listeners would know what Warhammer is. How would you describe it? It's kind of like Marvel superheroes, I guess. It's this franchise of little figurines and different armies that fight each other. And It was made by a guy in Nottingham and it became an international sensation. And there's loads of shops in the UK where you go and buy it, but it became a global thing. And yeah, just people actually have... I knew a guy who did model painting competitions. And I have to say, some of the models he did were actually very beautiful. Yeah. So it went beyond just being a nerdy thing, and it was just a genuine, amazing piece of art that he made. So they were seriously impressive.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. My partner's actually quite into Warhammer. So he spent quite a lot of money. Yeah, no, he spent a lot of money. You get, one model is sort of, I don't know, £20 to £50, but you need a whole army.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a weird mix between art and war. It's sort of an excuse for doing delicate art, really, under the guise of, but it's serious war stuff. It's manly.
It is weird, isn't it? It's where nerdiness, military history and arts and crafts all intersect in one hobby, which is quite strange.
I don't really know how you actually play the game. I think it's quite a complex game and there's loads of rules you need to know.
It's quite a complicated board game, yeah. I only played it properly a few times, but it is quite difficult.
You managed to play it, so as a beginner you could just pick it up.
It's you can play a simplified version of it, but there's a lot going on, basically.
Is it
You
really
have to remember
boring?
lots of numbers. I didn't find it that interesting. I just like painting them. Cosplay, model painting, bird watching, train spotting. Would people know what train spotting is?
Possibly not. Yeah, train spotting is where you wait at a station and record what trains are going by, because sometimes there's sort of unique, very old trains, like a steam train that will go by, so you might get a picture of it or something.
And you write down the number of the train and everything, and it's on the 2nd of November, I saw the 5827
Yeah.
From Brighton to London or whatever. And yeah, that's some people's hobbies. Yeah. It's
sort of like collecting something, but it's collecting incidents of spotting a particular train.
There was a guy who became Francis Bourgeois. He became a TikTok sensation for train spotting.
Really? I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
There's a sensation
became
for
like
anything.
A mega celebrity.
In what way?
So
everyone... Just because so many people loved to know which trains he had seen?
I think everyone on TikTok, they really loved how sort of earnest and sort of kind of innocent he was with his hobby, and the fact that he was sharing it with everyone, and he wasn't afraid of being seen to be a nerd or a geek.
Nice. Yeah, that's really nice. What's his name?
Francis Bourgeois. He became massive a few years ago. It was quite a nice story, actually.
And what else was there? Things like choir. So that's a more nerdy one that I am quite a fan of. Obviously, at sort of Oxford and Cambridge, you have the choral, like church choir.
Yeah, doesn't each college in the university has its own choir and stuff, college choir, and it's taken very seriously. But they release music and everything. It's like really good.
It does sound really lovely, but it's a very particular style of singing. I'm kind of more into the like soul, more jazzy type stuff.
Have you been to one of these choirs?
I've been going for a couple of years to one in Brighton. I've only stopped recently.
Wow.
But the lady that runs
impressive.
it, she's like so passionate that it makes you really love it. They're really good for you as well. There's something about doing it with a group of people that is very nourishing. Very
popular in Wales, choirs, or at least they used to be. Wales is known for like singing and choirs and stuff like that. Yeah, they're big on that. So yeah, that's quite a nice thing. I usually associate, this is probably wrong of me, but I usually associate choirs with like sort of older ladies.
I have to say I was probably the youngest in this choir. There are about 100 people, most of them over the age of 40, I would say. And also 80+% women.
Ah, wow. Yeah.
The other listener question was, 英国家长对子女的兴趣班怎么看呢？例如种类，一周多少？会为子女将来升学参加吗？ What are parents' perceptions of extracurricular classes for kids? Like what types will they send them to? How often would they get their kid to attend a class so that it improves their academic prospects?
Yeah, you do hear of parents sending their kids to things because it looks impressive on your CV or your resume. It's very popular when we were at school was the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
what's that?
Which was like, the Duke of Edinburgh Award is... It's largely like hiking and a thing called orienteering, where you have to figure out where you are in the countryside with a map and a compass. And depending on how good you were, you got different awards. For the Duke of Edinburgh Award, you could get gold, silver or bronze. And people used to say that it looked really good on your CV or something because it showed leadership qualities or the ability to use a map or something. So I don't know why that.
Yeah, it's
so
funny why that was
CV.
such a big deal. Everyone's like, yeah, you've got to get this on your CV, but who actually cared? I don't think. Do you think the admissions people were like, oh, you know how to use a map? You should definitely be allowed to come to our university.
Yeah, you can come to Oxford because yeah, exactly. I don't think so. But I purposely didn't do it because everyone was like pressuring us to do it so much. So I just rebelled and said, no, I don't want to do any Duke of Edinburgh. So I didn't do any of it. I just stayed at home instead. But that was really big. There are certain ones. What else? Learning a musical instrument. I think that's seen as a thing that you push your kids into because it looks impressive.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a bit of a hangover from, sort of high class society type things like, oh, yes, little Johnny must be excellent at the piano. Like,
yeah, there's certain hobbies that, I mean, we've discussed this on a different episode, but certain hobbies that reflect your class in a certain way. Playing rugby instead of football, tennis is like a semi-posh sport. Being into sailing, being into horses, exactly. That's super posh. Being good at a musical instrument, chess, yeah, that's like, it's like sophisticated. It makes you look cultured. Basically. Yeah. So yeah, I do think there are some parents who push their kids into this stuff because it looks good. And sometimes it can help with your academic stuff, I guess. I think most parents, they don't mind. They're happy for their kid just to find something that interests them and let them do that, really.
Yeah, but I suppose there is still a bit of snobbishness about the type of hobby. Like if you're into video gaming versus playing the cello or something.
Yeah, for sure. Like some hobbies get looked down on. Here's a good example. If you go to dog racing instead of horse racing,
Oh, yeah.
That's a completely different.
Yeah,
completely different. Horse racing, it's sophisticated. It's kind of posh and everything. Dog racing is just like seen as like a lower class pursuit. Like you shouldn't be going. So there's these like little connotations that each hobby has. Video games, I think, do still get a bad rap. I think people sort of look down on it as like a waste of time.
It's so interesting, isn't it? How a particular hobby just triggers this whole culture that's associated with a particular class. So if someone says to you that they are into classical music, you then might assume, oh, they must also be very academic or something else. Their family must have money, or
that's a really good example. If you were really into, say, like a certain genre of music, I don't know, drum and bass or something, people would just be like, okay, whatever. If you tell someone you're really into classical or jazz, it makes you look sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hobbies do definitely have certain tags that come along with them, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a lot of them feel a bit more outdated now, don't they? I think a lot of parents still do want their child to learn an instrument. But in terms of like, it must be classical style or something, I don't think that many people are so bothered anymore. I guess there is a bit of snobbery about doing the grades, though. If you're going to learn an instrument and you're just sort of playing around, that's quite different to if you've had lessons and then you've achieved grade 3 or whatever.
That's true. It's got to be like, it has to seem professionalized in some way. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. Exactly. Rigorous. Just have fun with it, I think. That's the whole point of a hobby, isn't it?
So, yeah, in general, possibly not so much pressure on the hobbies in this country. Yeah. There's probably a lot more we could talk about this one. Maybe you guys can send in some more questions in the future. We could come back to this.
Yeah, hobbies part 2. That'd be quite good.
So I guess we'll leave it there for today. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time.
See you guys. Bye.